Hi everyone, it's Liz, the Frugal Libertarian, here with you again. And I wanted to talk a little bit about something that's been quite in the news lately. It's been on every major network. It's something that's been talked about quite a bit, which is that Russia, quote, hacked, unquote, the November election. First of all, nobody's been able to prove that Russia actually hacked into the election process, meaning that Russia hacked into the voting booths or the computers that held the tabulations, whatever you want to call it. That hasn't been proven. When people say Russia hacked the election, what they're saying is that Russia went into John Podesta's emails and then released them to the public to make the Democratic Party look bad so that voters wouldn't vote for Hillary, they would vote for Trump instead. Democrats need to be latching onto this idea because the whole thing is Hillary was supposed to win. All of the numbers, all of the polls stated Hillary was going to win, and then she didn't, so there must be a reason. It's never just that she was a terrible candidate with horrible ideas that people didn't want to vote for. It wasn't that people who supported Bernie Sanders had no desire to support Hillary Clinton. It wasn't that Trump's anti-establishment, people like that more than Hillary Clinton being totally establishment. It's always some other reason. There's got to be some other reason because the polls don't lie. Well, excuse me, the polls were wrong. I think the Huffington Post said something like 92% chance that Hillary was going to win, like that was the margin. It was something ridiculous like that. Cherry-picked data can cause statistics to be very, very incorrect. But because of that now, they feel like there's got to be some reason, like some big reason plan that, there must be some ulterior motive, otherwise Hillary would have won, so something bad must have happened for Hillary to lose. And this is kind of ridiculous in two different ways. The first way is the fact that they think the DNC emails being released hurt Hillary more than the Access Hollywood tape hurt Trump. Considering most of the people who got upset about the Access Hollywood tape never actually listened to the Access Hollywood tape, they listened to the little tidbits that the news showed them, that Rachel Maddow put on. They just heard little bits and pieces. They never sat and listened to the whole thing. I think that did a lot more harm to him than anything else. But, would you sit there and say a foreign country interfered, they got a hold of that previously unpublished video that he didn't know was being recorded, and they released it so that Trump would lose? Nobody's saying that. Nobody's sitting there going, it's so wrong that that video was released. That video shouldn't have been released. But they are saying that about the emails. Now, nobody is willing to sit there and say the emails were fake. The emails were real. They're just willing to, they didn't want them to be made public, so they're mad about that. But it's kind of ridiculous that you think that you don't care about the Access Hollywood tape. That was fine. But the emails are bad. That shouldn't have been leaked. The video and the audio, yeah, leak that. But don't leak the emails. Isn't that a little bit one-sided? Aren't you kind of really pushing for your own side more than anything else in that situation? You also have, on the other side of it, this obsession with the idea that Russians had to hack it and, releasing the emails made it so that nobody wanted to vote for Hillary, and that's why Hillary lost. Do you think the American public is so stupid that we are incapable of thinking for ourselves, that we're unable to look at a situation and make up an opinion about it? Do you think we're so ignorant to the entire democratic process that we don't understand how the elections work? Basically, when they say, well, Russia hacked into the election, that's why Hillary lost, what they're saying is people can't think for themselves and they need the media to tell them what to do. And it was so wrong. It wasn't just that, again, it wasn't that Hillary was just a bad candidate. It was people had to be pushed into voting. Russia told them not to vote for Hillary and they listened. So Americans are so dumb that they would just believe whatever Russia tells them? It's this whole kind of weird obsession. And now they don't care about, the possibility of Susan Rice unmasking people from the Trump campaign and Trump transition team. they're okay with that. They think that's fake news, that's not an issue. But the leaking of completely 100% real emails that said some really nasty things and really shed a lot of light on what the Democratic Party was like on their own when cameras weren't there, when reporters weren't there, that should have never happened. They're okay with Access Hollywood release, but they're not okay with the email release. If anything, right now, if you look at it this way, if you are okay with the Access Hollywood leak, the email leak kind of just blots it out. It's like two things that cancel each other out. You had this negative thing come out about Trump, whether or not you listened to the whole thing or not, and this negative thing come out about Hillary. Shouldn't those two things negate each other, at which point we were left back at zero again? This idea Russia convinced all these Americans to vote for Trump. Russia forced Americans to vote for Trump. They compelled people to vote for Trump. Don't you think Americans can make up their own mind based on the information they're given? That a foreign power doesn't control us, we're not puppets that you're just playing with the strings of? The whole thing to me just seems so ungodly, unseemly. This whole idea of we can't... The whole thing just seems unseemly. Like, Americans can't make up their own mind. You know, they wanted Hillary, clearly, but then these tapes came out, and that's just awful, and that should be shut down, and we never want to have that happen again. Russia needs to be punished for what they did to our election. Which, again, their entire argument is, well, Russia influenced voters, so they tampered in the election by influencing voters. Again, are Americans so stupid they can't think for themselves? They can't take information and decide whether it's meaningful to them or not. This line of reasoning basically makes it into every American is just a puppet. We're just at the whims of whoever is giving us good or bad information. And again, nobody's sitting there saying, well, the emails were fake, they were frauds, they didn't... Somebody made them up, they were an invention, the media fabricated them. Nobody's saying that. They're just saying they shouldn't have been released. They were private, they shouldn't have been released. Well, don't you think the conversation Trump was having with Billy Bush in a bus, that he didn't know he was being taped, don't you think that was a private conversation too? But you don't care about that. You don't care about that. You care about one, but you don't care about the other. You either care about both or you don't care at all. And again, the two negate each other. At which point, everybody's back to zero and making their minds up based on the information they have. The idea that somehow we're all idiots who had our, who are brainwashed by Russia to vote for Trump, it's just insane. That's my thoughts on that as of right now. I know a lot of people are extremely attached to this narrative. There are a lot of people that seem to have an extremely vested interest in this narrative that really... I mean, you have some politicians stating that they think this is an act of war, that we should go to war with Russia over this. I mean, come on. Are you serious right now? It just seems like it's yet another attempt to just undo the November election. If we can prove that Russia hacked into the DNC email base and deliberately released this to taint Hillary's persona in the media and in the public's eye, then we should go to war with Russia and we should start bombing them. We should physically attack them. Because Hillary should have been president and they messed with that. I can't, like, again, I can't find anybody who's willing to say that they actually hacked into a voting booth, that they actually falsified the actual voting records, anything like that. What they're basically saying is, well, the public got information they shouldn't have had. The information was real, it was authentic, but they shouldn't have had it. Well, same is true of the Access Hollywood tapes. And that's the whole thing with me, is I don't like this kind of really blatant hypocrisy where they're saying, oh no, we thought that we were okay with the Access Hollywood tapes, those really deserve to be released, but the offensive emails, no. Because that hurt our candidate, and we care more about our candidate than your candidate, so whatever they want to do to your candidate, we're fine with that. They just can't do anything to our candidate. It's just this absolute two-facedness. What do you think? What side of this debate are you on? Do you even care about this? Is this something you're just sort of going, over? Because most of the time that's what I'm doing, is just sort of an, If you like this, give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Have an awesome day. Bye.